Hi, my name is Dave Booth. I'm with Caliber Equipment. What I'd like to do today is just take a couple minutes and go through the operation, safety, and maintenance of this machine, which is the RPS FactoryCat 390 Industrial Scrubber Sweeper. What we'll talk about a little bit is how to set up the machine prior to operating it, as well as the functions on the machine and the day-to-day maintenance of the machine when you're complete. Prior to operating any powered equipment, it is always recommended that the operator first refer to your owner's manual. In here you'll be able to review the safety features on this machine and precautions, as well as how the machine operates, as well as safety, environment, and functions. So again, please refer to your owner's manual prior to operating this piece of equipment. The FactoryCat 390 is an industrial rider battery-powered scrubber sweeper. On this particular model that we're going to talk about, you're going to see you have dual front sweeping brooms. There are two large cylindrical scrub brushes under the machine and a debris tray, as well as your recovery and solution tanks in the back. Prior to operating the machine at the beginning of your shift, it is always recommended to first walk around the machine, do an inspection to make sure everything is in working order before you start your shift and operate the machine. What you want to take a look at first, on this machine we have dual front sweeping brooms on the front of the machine. So we want to inspect those and make sure they're in good working order so they effectively sweep the edges as you work your way around your facility. Next, this is a cylindrical sweeper scrubber. So we're going to inspect underneath the machine where we have a large scrubbing deck with two cylindrical brushes and the debris tray. And we want to make sure the debris tray has been emptied out from the prior shift. We can feel underneath, make sure our brushes are in good working order, and that our side skirts and squeegee also is not torn or ripped, otherwise we won't have good dust control and water pickup. As we work our way around to the back of the machine, we're going to take a look at a couple things back here. First of all, this machine has two separate stainless steel solution and recovery tanks. So we're going to open these up, and this is where we're going to fill up the machine with our solution, holds 61 gallons, and our cleaning detergent. We're going to take a look in the recovery side. We're going to make sure this has been emptied out from the prior shift, that it's rinsed out, the screens are clean, and it's ready to operate. And of course then we just close these up and then lock them down for security. Next, we're going to take a look at the rear of the machine. This is the squeegee and the recovery system. We want to make sure that the squeegee rubber is in good order. There's no tears or rips on it. If we don't adjust it at this time, then we're not going to have good water pickup. So if it needs to be adjusted or replaced, make sure you talk to your maintenance department. Get over on this side, we have the same setup. We've got a side skirt, just as we did on the other side. This opens up, so we can also inspect the rubber on this side, the debris tray we already talked about, and take a look at the rubber. This machine is a front steer machine, so it has two large industrial rear tires, as well as a drive tire in the front. And we're going to make sure that there's no cracks or chips taken out of it, because that will affect the handling and the safety of the machine. The FactoryCat 390 is a battery-powered machine. The battery pack on this particular model is located underneath this compartment behind the driver's seat. So by opening this up, it'll give us access to the battery compartment. These are deep cycle wet acid batteries, and each type of battery has different maintenance. So we want to make sure before we start operating the machine that we don't see any problems with the batteries, that the cables are tight, and that somebody on a regular maintenance program has been inspecting the water level inside the batteries prior to operating, which can be checked by each of the individual caps. Last thing is, this is how we charge the machine. By pulling this connection, we've now disconnected the power from the machine, and this is where you're going to be plugging your charger in. So at the end of the shift, you're going to disconnect this when charging is required. Your charger is connected into here. We always want to be careful when we make these connections that we don't twist or crack these connections here, because it will short out. When we're ready to start our shift, we'll unplug it from the charger and then snugly insert it back into this compartment right here. Now we put power back to the machine and we're ready to scrub. When you're ready to start operating this machine, there are a couple of standard features you're going to find on every FactoryCat rider. On this machine, you'll see we've got a large, comfortable seat. We have dual armrests. that you can set. The seat is adjustable forward and reverse with a latch underneath. If we look at our steering column, we do have an adjustable steering, so it makes it for easy access, and then setting it into the right height for operating from this switch. You have a horn for safety, and then we have a separate switch that would turn on the dual headlights to give you better visibility in darker areas that you're operating. And again, we have our accelerator pedal down here. By pressing that, that will increase the speed of the machine. It'll automatically turn on your scrub functions when you have those switches activated. And again, on the control panel, you have a forward and reverse button, but you're utilizing just a standard single button switch. Now that we've inspected the machine prior to operation, made sure that everything is in good working order, we filled up the solution tank, we're now ready to start operating the machine. And what we'll do now is we'll go through the standard operation and the controls that are on this particular model. First of all, you'll see we have a key switch, so as we turn that on, the little LED screen will light up. And what this instantly shows you is, first of all, the charge in the battery. And as the bars go down, that will indicate to the operator that when it gets down to the last couple bars that it's time to charge the machine. Next to that, you'll see we've got an icon for a brush, and you're seeing there's 2 bars. That tells how much down pressure that we are going to have this system on the brush system when we're scrubbing. The button right next to it, we've got a plus and a minus. Depending on your conditions, if you want to increase the scrub pressure, by hitting this button, you'll see the bars go up in increments of 2. So there is 5 individual settings for this machine. So we can go all the way up to a maximum down pressure, or as we back it off, you'll see the bars go down for light scrubbing with just 2 bars. Keep in mind that if you don't have aggressive and stiff enough brushes, running it on a high down pressure is not going to clean your floors any better, because there's enough force that it'll bend the bristles over, and now you're going to excessively wear your brushes, and again your floor is not going to be any cleaner. So we want to make sure that our down pressure is connected to what type of brushes we're putting on the machine. For normal scrubbing on a smooth floor, we're probably going to operate it in this mid-range of level 2 or possibly level 3. Also keep in mind, not only on heavy down pressure are you wearing your brushes quicker, you're wearing the finish on your floor faster, as well as your battery runtime will dramatically be reduced, because we are now increasing the wear and the draw on the brush motors. As we work our way down the control panel, up at the top, you'll see we have 2 lights here. One is yellow and one is red. The yellow light will come on when the solution, the clean tank on the right side of the machine, is down to a certain level. The light will come on, letting the operator know that it's time to refill the machine. However, before we refill it, on the left side we've got a red light. That's going to tell us when the recovery tank is about full and it is time to dump the machine. So depending on which light comes on first, you always want to make sure before we refill the machine that we dump the dirty water out and rinse the tank prior to refilling it for continued scrubbing. As we work our way down, the green button is going to give us a different screen, and the first time we click it, what we see is we have a full battery. In this particular machine, it shows you the number of hours on the machine, 33. If we push the button again, we're now getting 3 different readings. The first reading, 33, is telling us is the number of hours every time we power the machine up. If you forget to turn the key off after about 5 minutes of non-operation, it will automatically shut itself off, and then you'll have to reset it. The second number is the brush hours, 31. On this machine, that means that this system has actually been used for scrubbing for approximately 31 hours of actual scrub time. Gives us an opportunity to see how much the machine is being used for scrubbing, as well as the wear and tear on the brush system. And the last number, 32, that's on our drive system. This being a self-propelled front drive machine, that tells how many hours are actually on the drive system. So that gives us 3 readings. If we hit it again, and it takes us back to our standard screen that you'll see every time you turn on the machine, where am I set at my down pressure, and what is my battery indication? Again, right next to it, this is the button that adjusts the down pressure depending on your scrubbing conditions. As we work our way down, this machine can be operated in 2 different fashions. We have a green button, green for go. That's a single touch. If we hit just this button, it automatically turns on all functions of this machine. Turns on the scrub system, the recovery system, and the water flow. So when this button is pressed down, when we hit our gas pedal, all functions automatically turn on. So it's a one-touch automatic sweeping system and scrubbing. If we need to operate it independently, instead of hitting this button, we would either engage this button with the brush above it to just scrub the floor. What that will do is when the machine starts to move, it'll turn the brush motors on and solution will now be flowing to the brushes for just scrubbing. Turn it to the O position, lifts the deck off the floor and turns it off. The one over here is my recovery squeegee drying the floor button. By clicking that, we've lowered the squeegee to the floor, and again, as the machine moves, it will automatically turn on the vacuum motor and we'll be able to dry the floor. When we're done drying the floor, by clicking it down, there is about a 15-second delay before the squeegee comes up and the vacuum turns off, because you should continue to drive the machine and finish drying the floor completely under the machine, and then it'll automatically stop. Keep in mind, if you have the automatic button depressed, these two functions are now deactivated. So if you don't want to use these, then your single touch is how you operate the machine. If you want to do your scrubbing or drying function separately, you do not use this button, you will use one or the other of these two buttons. In the middle, you have a blue button. This controls the solution flow rate. Depending on your conditions of your floor and what you're cleaning, you can adjust when you're in scrub mode how much solution is going to flow to the floor. And on this particular model, as the arrow gets bigger and you turn it more to the left, it's going to increase the solution flow when you're scrubbing, or you can reduce it to a lower volume depending on your conditions. So this can be adjusted at any time during your scrub function. Last button here is a red button. This is my forward and reverse. On this particular model, you only have one accelerator pedal. So when it's in the forward position is for going forward, as you can see. When I push it to the back, now we're going to be reversing, and when I touch the accelerator pedal, you'll hear a backup alarm activated. After we've backed up, we switch it in the forward motion and continue scrubbing. A couple of options on this particular model, and your machine may or may not have them, are for auxiliary functions. The first button here to the top right, this is if you have a off-aisle vacuum on. So if you have remote areas that you need to pick up solution or water that the machine can't get to, by turning this switch up and attaching a vacuum wand to the recovery system in the rear, it'll automatically turn on my vacuum motor. The switch next to it on this particular model has a power sprayer on the back of the machine at your recovering solution tanks. There is a separate hose. If I need to spray down solution to pre-wet the floor, to spray underneath equipment that I can't access with the machine, then I would turn this switch on, which automatically turns on a separate pump, and now I can spray down the solution that's in my machine to rinse the floor prior to scrubbing, to get underneath equipment and racking, or to utilize it to rinse the recovery tank when I'm dumping the machine of dirty water. Pushing it down turns off the pump. The last switch on the bottom, this is for the front dual sweeping brooms. This can be turned on when I'm doing my edge work and trying to get close to racking in pallets, that I want the dual front brooms that we talked about originally, so that they can get the machine closer to the racking and sweep the debris in front of the machine, and then as I move forward, the cylindrical scrub brushes will pick it up. So by turning that up, that automatically drops those brushes to the floor and they are now spinning, and then I would turn on my scrub system. When I'm done with the edge work, and I don't need them, I can turn them off separately. So again, these are three options that may or may not be on your machine, but they're used for detail work, extra cleanup, and edge work as well. Last thing, you see a bank of fuse resets. In the case of a motor jamming up or being overloaded, these would pop out and it would shut the machine down. And again, this is where you'd want to refer to your owner's manual or go to your maintenance department to see what caused a motor to trip the breaker. Prior to operating the machine, one thing we want to do is inspect the area that we're going to be cleaning. This is a cylindrical scrubber sweeper, so it's designed to pick up small debris on your floor as it's scrubbing, deposit the solid into a tray under the machine, and the dirty water is then picked up into the recovery tank. However, we want to inspect the area that we're going to be cleaning, and things such as large pieces of wood, banding, strapping, shrink wrap. Large pieces like this need to be removed from the cleaning area prior to scrubbing. On a cylindrical machine, these will get caught up into the system and it will damage the machine. So we want to make sure that we pick these things up in the scrub area prior to operating the machine. And then the small debris, small pallet chips will be picked up by the machine. But again, it's important to not run over this type of debris on your floor because it will damage the machine. Now we've gone through the proper initial setup and operation of this machine. If you have any questions, again, this is Caliber Equipment. This is the RPS FactoryCat 390 Industrial Cylindrical Scrubber Sweeper. Always refer to your owner's manual to refer to safety features and operating instructions as well as maintenance. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us. It's at 888-550-0945. Caliber Equipment. Thanks for watching. Bye.